Winchester graduates face a diminishing job market. Winchester prisoners to get vote after EU decision. And in sport, Winchester City's winning run thwarted by wonder goal. Good afternoon. Welcome to Winchester News Online. I'm Gable. Graduate unemployment has reached its highest level in 17 years. Our business correspondent, Julie Cordier, went to see how Winchester students are faring in the bleakest employment market for decades.
Students are once again victim of a bad economy. Figures show that just under 9% of 2009 graduates were unemployed last January. But Winchester University advised students not to give up.
It's obviously a tricky employment situation at the moment for many graduates, but lots of our graduates do very well. The recent information that's been in the press about the numbers of graduates being unemployed is obviously worrying. Students shouldn't listen too carefully. Well, they should listen carefully to the news, but not take it all with a pinch of salt, because there definitely are jobs out there.
A former Winchester student has been struggling for months to find a job. Despite getting a 2:1 degree in journalism and media last June, he's still unemployed.
I'm looking for absolutely anything, sort of labouring work, shop work, anything that's going. I feel like I'm more than capable of doing a whole variety of different jobs, and I don't think it's fair that I should come out and have such difficulty trying to find something that I would enjoy and that I could make a career out of.
But graduates should remain positive. An association of career advisors has declared that the recent figures are out of date and that the situation has considerably improved since last year. Julie Cordier, Winchester News Online.
The coalition has lost a 6-year tussle with the European Court of Human Rights to retain the blanket ban that stops prisoners voting. Our political correspondent, Joey Lipscomb, has this report.
It was announced on Tuesday that the government will be lifting the ban on British inmates having the right to vote. The move follows after it appears that the European Court of Human Rights have won the political tug-of-war with Britain that has been going on for 6 years. Janet Theodore is the landlady at the Hyde Tavern, but previously she worked as a deputy education manager for 22 years at Her Majesty's Prison in Winchester.
There are 30% of prisoners, I would estimate, that might be interested or might be knowledgeable enough to consider voting, and maybe they should be allowed to vote.
If you're serving a certain length of sentence, you can't vote. It's only for shorter sentences, and clearly I think what we'd like to see done is that anybody who's got a conviction for a violent crime, murder, rape, any element of violence, you would not be allowed to vote.
We understand the voting ban will be lifted on more than 70,000 inmates in Britain, but the government have been reluctant. David Cameron said he was furious, and our very own MP here in Winchester, Steve Bryan, said in a statement released on his website that he was quite shocked by this decision. He doesn't support all prisoners and never has, but for him this opens up the issue of prison reform, something that he has always been very supportive of. So there are light shades and dark shades, but the reality is these changes will soon come into effect and inmates here in Britain will be able to vote. Joey Lipscomb, Winchester News Online.
Southgate's Safer Neighbourhoods team is working to combat congestion in Stanmore. The move follows resident complaints over dangerous parking in the area. Michael Connolly reports.
Residents in Stanmore are concerned about the amount of parking congesting the streets, leaving some residents questioning the overall safety of the area.
There was a real complete unsafety factor for the children to come in and out of the school, really. The Lollipop Lady does a great job at Stanmore School, but there's so much parking congestion outside the school now, and a flow of traffic coming up and down Stanmore Lane. There is really an accident waiting to happen.
This has been brought to the attention of the local Safer Neighbourhoods team to see how this issue can be resolved.
What we're trying to do to combat the problem is, where possible, actually find the owners of the cars that are deemed to be causing the problem, speak to them and educate them about the manner of their parking and that sort of thing. Where possible, get them to move on to somewhere which perhaps isn't causing obstruction or even being parked illegally.
Residents in the neighbourhood are continuing to work with the police to try and get the situation resolved. Michael Connolly, Winchester News Online.
Exclusive WINOL figures detail over £3.7 million has been paid out by Southampton City Council in the last 4 years in redundancy pay. With looming public sector cuts, yet more employees are fearing the chop. Stuart Appleby investigates.
have shelled out over £3.7 million in redundancy payments in the last 4 years. Figures obtained by the Freedom of Information Act highlight there have been 73 redundancies in this period, with neighbourhood and resource departments the hardest hit. The council revealed last month they need to plug a £40 million deficit, and they also need to reduce their £113 million annual wage bill. Labour opposition believe the Tories have underestimated the impact of redundancies.
I've been made redundant twice in my life, and it's not easy. You actually go and blame yourself originally. It's devastating on your family.
Tories pinpointed Labour's reign in office as the reason for future redundancies.
The policy is redundancies will be an absolute last resort, and if they do have to happen, people should remind themselves who caused the situation. It was the Labour government and their supporters, for example, trade unions.
With council cutbacks imminent, Southampton public sector redundancies could yet rise. Stuart Appleby, Winchester News Online.
And now it's time for your sport with Karen Purnell out in the field. Karen, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Jake. You join me here at the Denplan Stadium, home of Winchester City Football Club. This was the scene of City's latest Wessex Premier game against Brading Town. Brading went into the match having won their first 8 matches of the season. Mikey Smith was here to witness the action.
Winchester were held by Brading Town on Saturday. Zach Glassboy opened the scoring for City after Danny King's superb long ball. But the Romans' comeback was instant, Scott Lawson somehow beating his namesake O'Rourke from fully 30 yards. City though regained the lead before the break, Martin Beck getting his aim on the scoresheet. Brading levelled the game once more in the second half, Carl Aron eventually finding the net after O'Rourke had denied Lawson and Scott Jones. But Nathan Inch almost grabbed a dramatic winner, but it just wasn't to be on this day.
Free-scoring Eastleigh were at home to league newcomers Boreham Wood this Saturday, trying to bounce back from their FA Cup loss against Woking last week. Will Cooper reports from the Silver Lake Stadium.
Eastleigh continued their impressive run at the start of this season on Saturday with a thumping win over lowly Boreham Wood. Boreham had only won once all season and got off to a nightmare start. Tony Taggart heading in after just 2 minutes. The visitors had only scored 4 away all season, but almost got level soon after. Mario Noto with this cross-goal effort. The golfing class became clear as Eastleigh boxed the away side in, and the Spitfires got their just rewards when Richard Gillespie stormed through for his 4th of the season. 2-0 after just 16 minutes. The home side had countless efforts on goal, but Boreham's resistance was not broken again until the 53rd minute. Chris Holland heading in a Taggart corner. Eastleigh are now just 3 points off the playoffs, but Boreham's defeat sees them sink to the bottom of the table.
And in other results from the non-league, Alresford Town were held to a goalless draw at home to Lymington Town. Paul Town stormed back to the top of Wessex Premier League with a 4-1 victory away to Alton Town, Stuart Douglas bagging a brace. And Jamie Waters was the hero for Laverstock and Ford as Tottenham and Ealing were defeated 1-0 at the Dell. The FA Trophy third round qualifying draw was made on Monday, which drew up the potential classic between local sides Basingstoke and Havant Waterlooville. And in other fixtures, Farnborough face Braintree Town and Eastleigh will face Folkestone and Victor at the Silver Lake Stadium. Ties to be played on Saturday the 20th of November. And now it's back to Jake in the studio. Jake?
Thanks for that. For more award-winning news and sport, don't forget to visit www.winol.co.uk. But now stay tuned. After the break, Kaylee James with her pick of what's on in Winchester. Kaylee will also be joined by the one and only Chesney Hawkes. Not to be missed. That's all from me. Bye-bye.
Today, an innocent person is standing trial for a crime they did not commit. Today, an innocent person is writing for help from a prison cell. 245 people have been exonerated by DNA testing, but researchers believe that at least 40,000 innocent people are still behind bars. For them, the answer is the Innocence Project, an organization that uses DNA technology to free those who've been wrongfully convicted of a crime. For more information about how you can support the Innocence Project, go to mylifetime.com.
Hello, I'm Kaylee James and here's a rundown of what's going on in and around Winchester this week. If you love to shop but don't have enough hours in the day, then head down to Winchester High Street tomorrow for Thirst Thursday. A mixture of live musical entertainment and late night shopping. A great atmosphere for doing the dreaded Christmas spree. Friday nights don't have to be a choice between Flirt at the Student Union or R&B at Porthouse. If you're into a more alternative scene, then head down to the Lonely Hearts Club at the Railway Inn this Friday, with a mix of indie, electro, punk and hip-hop. Doors open at 8. Saturday night is a Winchester Roundtable fireworks display. Arrive on the High Street from 6 to join in the entertainment. Follow a torchlit procession up to River Park Leisure Centre, where a bonfire will be lit and there'll be fireworks. But there's a twist. You decide what type of fireworks you want to see by texting your choice. Donations will go to charity with each text. And finally, if you're a bit of a 90s kid, I'm sure you'll remember this. Well, Chesney Hawkes is playing an acoustic set at the Railway Inn tonight from 8 p.m, and I'm joined by him now. So, Chesney, where have you been all this time?
Would you like a day-by-day account from 1991? We could be here all
in
night.
In general, where have you been? What have you been doing with yourself?
Well, these days I'm a songwriter. It's kind of my trade these days, writing and producing for different acts, but, you know, still touring around, making music, having children.
You're often labelled as the one-hit wonder of the 90s. What sort of shift has your music taken since then?
Yeah, I mean, it's still pretty much a similar kind of. I mean, I'm very kind of pop sensibilities is what I'm about. You know, guitar-based pop. You know, left to my own devices. But then again, I work with all sorts of different types of artists, like, you know, from country to punk to pop, and you know, my own stuff tends to be either piano-based pop or guitar-based. So you have to come down tonight to check it out.
Nice plug there.
Thanks. Do you like that? See what I did there?
I do. When you made it big with the one and only in 1991, how did that feel?
Oh, it was amazing. It was kind of a dream.
Must have been a lot of parties, being in your 20s.
Yes, it was. No, not that I can remember any of them, of course. No, it was like being in the eye of a storm, really. It was kind of a complete madness. You know, different country every day, and kind of every boy's dream, really.
I was reading on your blog that your father was in a band. He's been in a band since the 60s, hasn't he?
I have a blog.
Yeah, well, your webpage. That must have been an interesting childhood.
Yeah, and my dad was the lead singer of a band called the Tremolos, and they had like 15 top 10 hits in the 60s, so they were kind of big stars.
So it was a big party scene when you were growing up in your
house.
house.
Yeah, it's just parties my whole life, isn't it, really? Yeah, I mean, my household was kind of guitars propped up in every corner, and you know, and all my dad's mates were all 60s stars, and so yeah, very much so. It was they're old hippies, really. So.
Brilliant.
Yes, they were not the adults in the situation.
Have you got anything big lined up for the next year or so?
Well, I'm just finishing off this tour. I'm scoring a film, and what else am I doing? Writing a book.
What film's that? Who will you be starring
with?
with?
I can't tell you much about it, actually,
okay.
so sorry.
Top secret.
But yeah, I'll come back next year and tell you all about it.
Okay.
But no, so I'm doing that, and I'm also writing an autobiography, which is something fun.
What will that be titled?
What do you think? The publishers want to call it.
I think we know.
Yes, exactly.
So tell us a bit about your show tonight. Will it be a mixture of old and new, or do you want to concentrate on new material?
No, I kind of throw some old ones from kind of I did a film with Roger Daltrey back in the early 90s called Buddy's Song. So I've been kind of digging out those old songs and dusting them off, trying to remember the chords. Including the one and only, of course, which I'd be lynched if I didn't do. But as I said earlier, I'm a songwriter these days, so I kind of it's my chance to kind of play songs that I wrote as soon as like last week, if you know what I mean. And I have a latest album, so I do a few songs from that as well. And
sounds good.
It's kind of a musical journey, really. Yeah.
Sounds good.
It's very intimate. You going to come down and check me out?
We are. We're all going to go. Thank you very much, Chesney.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
That's okay. Head on down to the Railway Inn to catch Chesney from 8 p.m. tonight. For your fill of entertainment news around Winchester, visit www.winol.co.uk. That's all for now. Bye-bye.